Welcome to Escape Room Reviews, I'm Zach, and today we're talking about Ghost Patrol at Trivium Games in Emeryville, California. Trivium currently only has the one game, Ghost Patrol, but while we were there, they did tell us they're working on their new game. I believe it's called Cartooners, sort of a cartoon mechanic style, which should be really good. So Trivium is located in a fairly small suite just along the main walking path along the road in Emeryville. There is plenty of public parking around. Some of it is, pay to park, absolutely, but parking wasn't too difficult to find. The lobby is nice and quaint, nothing too large, but you don't feel cramped in by any means. And all the employees were super friendly and a pleasure to talk to. Ghost Patrol is a 90-minute escape room. Built for 4 to 8 players with a 10-player maximum. They don't give it a difficulty rating, but I would probably say medium to medium hard. We did play it with 3, so technically under the minimum, but even then the game's very linear and we always had 1 or 2 people kind of just standing around, so I would definitely watch your player count, especially with enthusiasts. The game is $295 for the first 4 players and then $38 for each additional player. So it's definitely a fairly steep price, but with all the awards and stuff it's won, it's arguably worth it. Alright, so the set. The set, especially for the first 2 areas in the room, was remarkable. I mean, it was some Disney level haunted mansion, seriously beautiful. The second half of the game though, it felt like different builders wanted to tell different stories, which it felt very disjointed. Without giving away too much, the story is you are sent in to wrangle up the ghost of a rocket scientist who mysteriously disappeared. So, first you start out in her, haunted mansion, and eventually end up in her laboratory. And you can do a haunted lab pretty cool, have ghost goo all over, beakers and jars and stuff. No, it was a very standard, just kind of laboratory like you'd seen in probably plenty of other escape rooms. But again, the first half of the game, set-wise, was impeccable. I mean, we stepped in there and we, jaws dropped. It was beautiful. I just wish the whole game was like that. If the whole game was this big haunted mansion thing, kind of like Whispering Halls in Sacramento, it would have been leagues and leagues above how it already was. Puzzle-wise, the game is very high-tech. To my knowledge, there weren't any actual physical, lock that we had to open. It was all some input of maglock, RFID, or a combination into a keypad. Nothing super innovative per se. I mean, there was definitely some stuff I hadn't seen before. It was, there was some cool stuff. There was a fun little mini game it's a lot of fun, but it's definitely just a 1-player mini game. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the game is very linear. So while the one person's doing that, the other 2 are just kind of watching. But all in all, puzzle and flow was good. What annoyed my group was we assumed one and done. I honestly think we were told one and done, and the game is not one and done. Again, without giving away too much, the scientist that you're going in there to capture is making power cells, has made her own new form of energy, and you have to, piece them together and then throughout points in the game break them apart and reuse them, which is a fairly neat concept. I'm not a very big tangram person, which is what they were. It was very fill in the spot with these 3 pieces. So having to do that 4 times and also not originally knowing we had to break them apart kind of annoyed me a lot. But all in all, puzzle-wise, it was good fun. Some unique puzzles, some really, cool puzzles, but just very linear and some slightly annoying stuff. Hint system. So the hint system was just a fairly standard, either rotary phone or the wall-mounted, pull off phones that you've seen in like, you know, offices and stuff, which for story reasons made sense. You know, there would be an old rotary phone in the like Haunted Mansion part, and there'd be like an office phone in the secret lab, and it made sense that you're just calling into the GM because, again, you're new hires at this paranormal investigative thing, so you're, you know, calling up to management or whatever. Nothing super, you know, outstanding or innovative, but, you know, not bad by any means. The game did make use of a cool system I haven't seen before. The ghosts would leave a little spectral goo around, you know, as you do when you're a ghost. And one of you wore a chest-mounted like speaker, and you were given a scanner. And when you know, scan the goo or whatever, it would play certain sound through your speaker, which was a really, really cool system that they used for puzzles. They mostly just used it in the first room, or the first half of the game, which again was by far my favorite half of the game. But that was a definitely like cool system. I've never seen in an escape room before, and I think would be really cool in other rooms, especially other haunted games like that, because it made you feel like you're actually paranormal investigators. You know, you have equipment and stuff now that you need to, you know, track the ghosts with. Group size. So as I mentioned earlier, we did play with three enthusiasts, and which was, you know, below the minimum already, and so we already paid about $300 for 3 people, so it's $100 a person, and I want to recommend more because that's the minimum, and you know, it's less money per person and all that. But the fact that 1 or 2 of us was already always standing around doing nothing because, you know, the room was so linear, and even if it was a quote-unquote group puzzle, it was mostly a 2-person puzzle at most, except for a few exceptions. It's hard to recommend more than 3 enthusiasts. I could see maybe like 5 or 6 beginners, but at most like 2 enthusiasts, 2 beginners, or 3 enthusiasts, because the game has a good amount of puzzles, but they're not very group oriented. So there were no live actors in the game, and despite a name like Ghost Patrol and being in a Haunted Mansion and all that, the game really wasn't spooky. It was very Disney-esque is kind of the best way, like, my family and I described it. It's very whimsical, it's very fun. It's, you know, you got your lights around the room that when you solve things, they like play a little tune and all that. Like, there was nothing that was built to scare you. It was just built to immerse you in this fun little like cartoon ghost world. All right, so my final thoughts. The room was really, really good. Okay, don't get me wrong. I mean, there is a reason it has all of the Morty Awards and Tribeca nominations and all the stuff that it does. There's a reason for that. But what I don't think gets talked about enough is, at least from our experience, the room felt so disjointed. The first 2 spaces, incredible. The second 2 spaces, lackluster. The puzzles in the first 2 spaces, awesome. In the second 2 spaces, bad. Well, okay, not bad, but, you know, compared to the fun, you know, Haunted Mansion, ooh, spooky stuff you get to do in the first rooms, it really falls short. And I don't understand. I don't understand why in their process they went with, let's build a Haunted Mansion room. Let's make it about a rocket scientist. Let's get rid of the awesome Haunted Mansion and just build a laboratory. It makes 0 sense to me. And I think if the game had been like it was in the first 2 spaces in the second half of the room, it would be in my top 10 easily, because the first 2 spaces alone would make my top 10 if the second 2 spaces didn't kind of squander it. I mean, again, it's not by any means bad. I still gave it a heart on Morty. It's still, you know, easily a 7.5, 8 out of 10, no question about it. But it even more easily could have been a 9, 9.5 if they didn't just give up the Haunted Mansion, like, aesthetic for seemingly no reason. And as a game master involved in building rooms, I get the importance of story. I get you want to tell your story, you want it to be an immersive experience all the way through. But the story of Rocket Scientist and Ghost Mansion don't go together. And even if you absolutely needed them to, if like your heart was set on that, there were better ways to do the laboratory and the secret tunnel between them and whatever. There were better ways to do that and still make it feel like a cohesive room instead of two separate, vastly different escape rooms. So, do I recommend it? Yes. Do I think it's as good as seemingly everyone else? Not quite. And I mean, I still love the game, but it's just tough to get over how disjointed it felt. Have you played it? What are your thoughts? With Escape Room Reviews, I'm Zach. We'll see you in the next one. Get out there and play some escape rooms.